Hello and welcome to Jitterbit Harmony in a Nutshell webinar. My name is Sean Fatuhi, and I'm also joined by Gary Cobb, our integration solution consultant. We appreciate you taking the time away from your busy schedule to be with us today. Our intention is to make these worthwhile for you. And with that said, let's quickly get started with the agenda. Since this session is part of a series of interconnected demos of Jitterbit Harmony, I will give you a very quick intro for these sessions so you can see what these webinars entail. We'll spend majority of our time in the product with the help of Gary. And after Gary's done, I'll provide you more information on upcoming events so that if you're interested, you can register for them. Finally, we will spend the last 5 minutes to answer any questions you have. For questions, please submit them via chat to the panelists, and we will address them during the last 5 minutes. If we don't get to all of the questions, we will compile the questions and the answers, and we will send it to the attendees. Before Gary begins his demo, I wanted to make sure that I cover what these webinars are and what they're not. These sessions are meant to be focused on the product and free of sales and marketing content. So I just want to give you a little bit of a warning there. So it aligns with your expectation. It is important to be these sessions to be educational in a very casual manner, and everything you see is going to be live, so there is no smoke and mirror. Just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that as well. These sessions are also meant to be concise, short, and to the point. That's why we like to keep them to less than 30 minutes, so that way you can get on with your busy schedule. Also, just making sure that you understand that these are chained together. We're trying to tell a story. So what we do today, it's going to be related to what we do next week and what we do the week after that. Now that we, what we're going to do today is going to give you a high-level overview of Jitterbit Harmony and its major components. We will cover how you can design, deploy, and manage all your integration requirements with a fully integrated platform. We will introduce you to connecting to different systems, creating business workflows, managing the lifecycle of your integration project, as well as going on and monitoring these integrations once you deploy them. With that said, and with that in mind, please, Gary, go ahead and take it away. Let's get to the product demo.
Great, thanks, Sean. So you should be seeing my screen, and I am logged into the Jitterbit Harmony platform. I am presented with 4 cards right off the bat. You'll notice the ability to hover over them and just get a quick glimpse of them, so let's do that. I have my Cloud Studio where I can design my integrations, connect my sources and targets, add any transformations I would want to do in between there. I have my API Manager where I can make my integrations real time. One example of this would be if I wanted to send an outbound message from one system to trigger an operation or an integration in another. So we can host, you can host a URL here with Jitterbit in the API Manager to enable that real-time activity. We have our Citizen Integrator. This is where our recipes and templates live. And while we're here, why don't we actually just click into this one? The Citizen Integrator is really designed to give the integration power over to your business users. You see some of the systems that we have out of the box. These are recipes and templates to these systems. So if you have business users trying to connect to SAP, for example, you might want to come in here and just check the recipes that we have available. Or you might just want to build your own and hand it over to those business users and allow them to manage their integrations on their own. Now, we do have another session on recipes and templates coming up, and Sean will have some dates for you at the end of the session. I would encourage you to register for that webinar if recipes and this Citizen Integrator is something that sounds interesting to you. We also have the last card here, the Management Console. So this is where you're going to manage everything within Jitterbit from a high level, see everything that's happening within Jitterbit, really your monitoring and more or less your project lifecycle management card here. Now, let's drill into some of these. And before we do that, I do want to just quickly cover the bottom links down here underneath support and learning. It is our MO to make our customers familiar with the product, make sure they're comfortable, and able to build out their integrations as needed in a timely manner. So these first 4 cards on the top, as well as the first 2 down here on the bottom, are all geared towards learning Jitterbit. So you can get specific with API Manager or Citizen Integrator, or you can start a little more general with the Harmony Quick Start here. We also have our product release link, so you can just stay up to date with everything that's coming out from Jitterbit. You have your support requests link. This is where you can log tickets. Regardless of what version of Harmony you're running, you do have unlimited support requests, so make use of that as needed. You also have the link to our documentation pages, what we call Success Central, and Jitterbit Community, a community of users that you can collaborate and discuss with and even exchange projects with if you'd like. We also have Jitterbit University. There's over 30 hours of content here that you can take at your own pace. Really anybody within your organization will be able to take at their own pace and get familiar with Jitterbit and integration in general even. And then the last 2 links are Jitterbit events and our news and press. Just to help you stay up to date with everything that's happening within Jitterbit from a social perspective. We are gearing this session towards really connectivity, workflows, project lifecycle, and monitoring. And I am going to start really with the project lifecycle and the monitoring side, and we'll work our way into the workflows and connectivity. So with that in mind, let's dive into our Management Console dashboard. The dashboard is a high-level grouping of panes that really just give you a quick insight to what's going on in your instance of Jitterbit. So starting from the top left, I have my alerts. This is system-wide, so alerts relating to agents or operations that just aren't running right, or maybe even long-running. Just a quick glimpse there. I have a quick pane on my subscription to Harmony platform, just letting me know where that stands. I also have my activities pane right front and center. These are all of the logs of all of your operations and all of your integrations that are occurring within Jitterbit. So you might spend a lot of time here if you are developing. We also have an agents pane down here. Agents are the runtime for Jitterbit. And agents can either be deployed on-prem behind your firewall, or you can utilize our cloud agents. Either way is up to you. If you are utilizing our cloud agents, we will scale those up and down as needed. If you're running your own agents behind your firewall, it's nice to have this pane here as you can just see how those are standing as their status. We also have our design pane here on the top right, just a high-level glimpse of the number of integrations you have, what we call projects, and then the environments within your organization. And now, getting a little ahead of myself here, because you'll notice I do have organizations down here on the bottom right. Now, typically, our customers have one organization. I am an employee at Jitterbit, so I do belong to multiple, but again, in a regular deployment, it's likely you would have one organization and several environments within that organization, anywhere between 2 and 5. Now, this is the dashboard to our Management Console, but I can access other parts of our Management Console through what we call our hamburger menu on the top left here. So, of course, the dashboard, my projects, again, these are all of the operations or flows or integrations that I have built within Jitterbit. So I can view these from a high level, be able to trigger these operations to kick off ad hoc, or even set them up on a schedule right out of this pane here. Again, my activities are all of my logs. Everything that's been occurring within Jitterbit is going to show here. I have the ability to set up notifications. These are system notifications. That would be if a password is expiring, or if the server that my agent is running on goes down. I would want to be notified of that, so I can set those up here. I have a high-level view of my organizations. This is where I can manage my users within my organizations as well as the roles within. And again, environments. As I mentioned, you will have somewhere between 2 and maybe even up to 5 environments, depending on how you deploy Harmony, Jitterbit Harmony. And something to be mentioned here, I think a point worth noting is that if you do have your development environment, or when you have your development environment rather, you are able to connect to as many endpoints as you like in that development environment. There is no licensing around that environment. So I know we said no sales and marketing, but I think it is a point worth making as these questions do tend to come up. We do have your agents here. So if you are running agents behind your firewall, you'll be able to manage them here. And then we also have customizations. So plugins are a way for you to utilize maybe some Java or .NET scripts that you might have pre-built. So you can put a wrapper around those and access them from Jitterbit. You also have your ability to add client certificates for any security reasons you might need to. So that is the management console from a high level. Again, a lot of monitoring features built into that, even some project lifecycle features. What I'd like to do now is move in a little more towards the workflows and the connectivity components. And before we do that and get into the actual studio, let me just jump into our API manager. API manager, again, is where you're going to come to build your APIs and make your operations, your integrations real time. Now you can see that I've logged into my API platform here, and I do have several views and filters up across the top that allow me just to see the APIs I already have in different ways. I can export these APIs and share them if needed, or even import APIs from other team members or other organizations even. I can proxy any APIs that I have existing already, and that allows me to house all of my APIs within the Jitterbit Harmony platform. And then, of course, I can build my own APIs. Now, again, we will have a session dedicated to building APIs. So I would encourage you to register for that. Matthew will show you how easy it is to walk through the 4-step process of building one of these APIs and making an integration real time. Now, there's a few more components here, definitely worth showing. I'm going to go through them down the list there. So first off is Portal Manager. When you create your APIs in Jitterbit, we will create Swagger documentation on the back end. You can come in and edit that documentation as you like if you need to add to it. As with any Swagger documentation, you can come in and test your APIs out. And then you can even put your own company logo and image in here as well. Now, if you wanted to share these APIs outside of your organization, you also have the portal here. This is viewable to people outside of the org, allowing them to access your Swagger documentation as well. And we also have logs, of course. So you, of course, want to know who's hitting your APIs, how frequently, and what do those hits look like. And so this is where you're able to see all of the requests and responses going out. And we have an analytics page as well, so you can see how frequently those APIs are being used, who's hitting them the most, or excuse me, what APIs are being used the most, who is using them the most, and what addresses those happen to be. And then last part to the APIM is our security profiles. So you can put security profiles on your APIs. These can be basic, anonymous, OAuth, or even API key-based. As you see here is just some examples. You can include a rate limit on individual users as well. So just to make sure your APIs are not being taken advantage of. So that does cover the API manager. Again, we will have a session that'll go a bit deeper on API manager, and we'll actually build an API from scratch. I would encourage you to join that if that's of interest. But I think that leaves one last card here, which would be our studio. So let's jump into the design studio. This is where we are establishing connectivity and really making our integrations. Right off the bat, I am presented with a familiar screen. I do have filters up top. I can go filter my environments. I can import projects either from other team members or maybe, again, another organization. Or I can, of course, start my own new project. Now, I do want to jump into one of these projects, but we have one more component to show, which is the connector builder. Now, anytime you're talking about integration, you, of course, are talking about connecting to multiple systems. Now, Jitterbit Harmony does provide a lot of connectors out of the box. Some of your more common ones would be SAP or Salesforce or NetSuite. However, we can't provide a connector to every system out there. And so that brings us to our connector builder. This gives you the power to build connectors to REST APIs all on your own. And once you build these connectors, you're able to share them with your team members and allow them to pick up the connector, not have to learn the API, but essentially be able to just go on and integrate their data as they need. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly dive into one of these. Let's go ahead and choose Zoom here. It is a 4-step process to build these connectors, and it is wizard driven, so quite simple with some fair amount of guardrails around them. And in this case, you can see that we've got 2 endpoints exposed from Zoom here within this connector, our get meetings and our get access token. Now, of course, I can continue adding more Zoom endpoints in as I need to, but once I have all that I need, I'm able to publish this and then make that connector available to anybody within my organization. So if one person learns the API and builds that connector is now available to everybody within the company. Now, again, we will have a session geared towards connector builder as well. And if building connectors and connecting to REST APIs that might be a little less common is of interest to you, I would encourage you to join this session. Again, Sean will have dates for those at the end of today's webinar. Okay, so let's jump into a project. Projects are what we, our nomenclature for a set of integrations, if you will. And here I am in one of our projects. In this case, we are integrating Salesforce and a database, and we're doing so bidirectionally. So each of these square boxes is what we would call an operation, and a very basic operation would be a source, a transformation, and a target. Now, you see that these operations are chained together. So once this operation completes, we will kick off the next one. And if you are looking deeply at these tiles, you'll notice that we are going one way, Salesforce to database in the first operation, and then we are returning that data from database to Salesforce. So again, a bidirectional flow. And if seeing how this is built is of interest to you, that will also be another session. My coworker, my teammate Brad will build this from scratch. So I would encourage you to jump into that if this is if building is designing is in your wheelhouse, something you will likely be doing, I would suggest you join that webinar. Now, just a few navigational components on the side. Let's start on the left here. You see that I have my workflows. These are essentially what we're seeing in the middle of the screen. And I can see all the components that go into each workflow. Now, I also have my components. These are reusable components that make up the operation. So I would say that this is a target component, this is a transformation component, and this is a source component. Again, all of these components live here, and they can be reused as needed. So once I build one of these, I can always drag and drop and reuse. Now, again, integration is always about connecting to endpoints. So let's talk about those endpoints. We have our connectivity pane here on the right. And if I filter the list here to show the endpoints I'm using or that I have access to and I'm authenticated with, you see that I have Salesforce and database. Now, connectors that we provide out of the box, as well as the connector builders that I have access to within my organization, will show under the connectors pick list. And you can see that we have quite a bit of connectors, a lot of the common ones as mentioned, NetSuite, Workday, Epicor. If you needed to search for some, you certainly can. And all of these connectors provide a very similar look and feel. If you just click one open, to place the credentials in, test your connection, and then you'll be off and running. And why don't we look at what it looks like once we have one of those connected. So here I have my database credentials. And once I entered those in and tested, I then have my query, insert, update, and upsert operations available to me. And from here, I'm able to just drag these on into my pane and begin working. So we want to make that very easy. As you can see, filling out these connectors, once you establish a connection, you're able to then immediately drag and drop and begin building. Now, there are a few more components from a high level, kind of a monitoring or even a project lifecycle level, if you will. I want to mention that you do have the ability to set project variables. Project variables become quite important when you are working in a development and production environment, maybe just as one example. So your URLs might change from prod to dev, your passwords most likely will change. And so you can variabilize these values, hide them while you migrate them across the environments, just making it easy to maintain these variables in one place and have them update across your entire integration process. We also have our project history pane. Here I can see everything that's happened within this project, either from a deployment level or even from an individual activity level. And not only can I see across history, I can even see in real time. So it looks to me like 11/22, Sean Fatui is in here and he is adding to my project. So this is a collaboration feature. It allows me to work with another developer, design flows and integrations in tandem, and then see all of the changes that are being made. Now, I can always revert back to any one of these deployed changes.
Sorry, Gary, I'm just messing around with your project.
That's okay.
But just wanted to show you.
Yeah, I think that works perfectly. And then we can always restore newer versions or older versions. So if I roll back, I decide I don't like that, I can always roll forward as well. So I think that worked well, Sean. Thank you. The collaboration part is a big component here. We know that integration can be challenging, and we want to be able to give you the power to allow your team to take it on as a team. Sean, I think that wraps up everything I had planned to show. We went through some project lifecycle components. We talked about monitoring. We've seen some workflows and some connectivity. I believe I am done. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen okay. So thank you, Gary, for going through that for us. Let me just go ahead and tell you a little bit about what's coming up. As Gary mentioned, we have these scheduled for the next 3 weeks. We have on July 22nd, we'll have our build and integration in minutes, where Brad will take us through the process of creating what you saw on Gary's screen as far as the project of integrating Salesforce and database from scratch. So we'll start with a brand new project, we'll build it together. So if you're interested in that, certainly join us. Once Brad builds that integration on July 29th, we will cover how to create an API to put data in a system and expose it. So we'll go through that process where you see you can do all of that without any coding required. And on August 5th, we'll have our connector builder session, where we will pick a system that we don't have a connector for, and we will build a connector from scratch. So that way you can see how that connector builder works. Our only ask is that we're going to follow up with a 1 to 2 minute survey, because we want to pull you on topics that you're interested in, so we can add it to our upcoming events. So if you could just take a couple of minutes of your busy schedule to provide that feedback to us, we would really, really appreciate it. Things that we could improve to make it more compelling for you to join these sessions and be educational, please let us know through the survey. Let's see, let me go ahead and start with the questions. We're on time. So let me just quickly look. What are the ways you can secure an API? Gary, do you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. So APIs can be anonymous, which is not secure. Doesn't answer the question, I understand. But you can also make them basic or OAuth. Or as you might have saw, you can also include an API key. And I'll say that OAuth 2.0 has compatibility with Google, Okta, Azure, and Salesforce. And Sean, it looks like we have a couple questions coming in on the chat as well. So someone did pick up on unlimited connectivity per environment. Glad that was heard loud and clear. And the question is, can we discuss generally how pricing is determined? Yeah, absolutely. So pricing is based on your production environment and the endpoints you're connected to in that environment. So if you're connecting to 4 different systems in the production environment, we would essentially call that 4 endpoints. Now, in your development environment, and I think the reason this question came up, what I had said is that you can connect to as many endpoints in your development environment as you like, without the need to license any of those endpoints. Really the idea here is that you can build out your integrations, make sure they work, test them, and do all the QA you want before you put them into production, and try to realize value out of them, right? So once they move into production, that's where we would ask you to license on an honesty system.
Thanks for answering that. I was saying brilliant things while I was on mute.
We know you were.
All right. The next question is, as a partner, can we make connectors we create available to others? I'll take a stab at that. We are going to be releasing a marketplace for folks, whether it's customers or partners, even for Jitterbit, who we build a lot of process templates or solution templates. We will make those available through our marketplace, and as a partner, you could do the same. That's on our roadmap. It's coming up. We'll definitely keep you posted with all the new innovations we're making, but that is certainly one of the things that I wanted to mention, that you have that availability very, very shortly. Obviously, as Gary showed, you could still do the import and export, but that just means you have to transfer files from in that manner. But again, the marketplace will address that while you do it through a portal. So hopefully that answered your question on that. I have a question about, do you support OAuth? So I think we covered that one, but Gary, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, we do cover OAuth in the APIM. Maybe that was geared more towards authenticating with an OAuth endpoint.
Okay. I can tell you we have customers that also not only secure their APIs through a third party like Okta. You can also have the landing page that Gary showcased. That could be done through a third party like Okta. So that way you manage your user in a third party solution and give them access to Jitterbit Harmony through that. So we're at the bottom of the hour. There are some other questions that are come up that we haven't covered. We'll definitely compile those and send it to you as a follow-up. And please take the 1 to 2 minute survey to drive the topics that are interesting to you, and we will make sure that we create the webinars around those. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Thanks for paying attention and spending your 30 minutes with us today.